Welcome to the Planet B podcast, where truth, transformation, and faith converge. Join us as we flip the script on ecological despair, guided by Dr. Sailesh Rao's vision for a compassionate, rewilded vegan world. Let's begin the journey to the greatest transformation in human history.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode 29 of the Planet B podcast. And today is definitely one of the most fascinating chapters of the book, The Money Game Transformation. Dr. Rao, thank you so much for joining us. And wow, this is going to be quite a topic.
Right. So usually the most interesting topic for people too, because it's very hard for us to think of a different money game than what
Right.
we've been playing because of the two loops theory of change. I think it's absolutely inevitable that this needs to change. The money game needs to change.
And I love how you call it a money game, because in the end, that's all it is. But if you don't mind, could you start with the opening quote by Deborah Fries?
Yeah, Deborah Fries said, you cannot fundamentally change big systems. You can only abandon them and start over.
So true.
She's one of the founders of the Berkana Institute. It's their two-loop theory of change that I use.
Why do you call it the money game?
Because as human beings, we tell stories and we play games. This is how we coordinate our actions and among millions and even billions of us. We tell common stories that everyone has bought into those stories, and then we play common games. And that allows us to be this powerful species that can literally change the life support systems of a planet.
Right.
Because without telling these stories and playing these games, if you look at all the other species, they don't have groups of more than 100, 200, or maybe even 1,000. But beyond that, they don't coordinate very well. Okay, we can coordinate among 8 billion of us.
Right.
Because every one of us believes in the money game. It's that common game that everyone plays, right? And in the money game, you're taught, if you want money, you have to go and extract from the planet and give it to someone who has money, who will give you something for it. It's the fundamental extractive money game that we play.
Right. And it's interesting because you say it is really the one game that all of us are, I don't know if the right word is forced to play, but it is one of the major components of the Planet A system.
It's the one game that allows you to tap into the resources of hundreds of our fellow humans, thousands of our fellow humans, because without it, if you go talk to someone in an indigenous community that doesn't use the money game, is not yet playing the money game, they are small communities and they help each other, in that community. But suppose you want to create a smartphone. A smartphone was assembled by thousands of people.
Right.
Okay. And thousands of people designed it. So it's like you're really tapping into the knowledge of maybe millions of human beings in that smartphone. Okay. And how do you then tap into that effectively? So you need to play some kind of game that allows you that benefit of the knowledge of your fellow humans and their productivity all put together to give you this useful tool. That money game is the one that allows us to coordinate at such levels. You can play the game in different ways. You can create different rules and play the game. But we have a game that we inherited. And so we were born into this game. We didn't even know. We were born into this game.
Yeah.
And then we were taught how to play the game and we started playing it. It's now, once you understand the money game, understand how the rules of the money game, and you realize it's actually the one that's driving the climate heating phase of our civilization, then we can say, okay, how do you architect a money game that will allow you to be in the climate healing phase for civilization?
Right.
Right. It's not the same game. It's a different game.
If we could talk a little bit about that, the Planet A climate heating phase of this money game. And in this chapter, you highlight the fundamental roles within the money game on Planet A are the buyer, the seller, and the banker. Could you share a little bit about that, please?
Yeah. So Alice wants to buy a piece of property from Charles, the seller. And then Alice goes to Bob, the banker, and asks for a loan to buy the property because she doesn't have enough money to buy the property. Okay. So according to the rules of the money game play today, Bob is allowed to give Alice a loan if he knows that Alice can return that money, number two, and he has at least 10% of the loan in his bank.
Mm,
So he can actually create like a factor of 10 multiplication.
right.
Okay. Or in effect, what happens is he's giving the money to Alice to go and buy, and he's only keeping like a small percentage of the money in the bank. So that if there's a run on the bank and everybody comes and wants the money back, he doesn't have enough. He's given it away. Right? So, but then the government supports him, saying if there's a run in the bank and you are FDIC insured, we will insure every depositor to the tune of $100,000 or something like that. So people don't make a run on the money because they know that the government is guaranteeing them $100,000. Okay.
Right.
So those are mechanisms that we put in place to make this thing stable. So now Alice has the money, so she goes and gives it to Charles, and she gets ownership of the property, but in reality, she doesn't own it. The banker owns it. Okay. The banker owns it because he is asked that property to be collateral for him to give the loan.
Right.
So if Alice cannot return the loan, he gets the property. Now, what did the banker do? He was just an intermediary.
Yeah, just the middleman.
Just the middleman. But he owns the property now. Literally, right?
It's true, yeah.
So this is why I say the bank literally owns the planet at any given point in time. So if you think of all these bankers, literally it's just one bank, right? A few large banks. And if you follow their shareholders, you'll discover that it's really one bank.
Right.
Large corporations have the same financial holding companies as major shareholders. It's literally just one bank. So it's a system that's created this mechanism of fractional reserve currency system has created such that a few people literally own the planet. Because at any given point in time, there are more loans than there is money in the system. So which means that a lot of people are in debt, which means they have put some of their assets as collateral for the debt.
Right. Yeah.
So if they cannot return the debt, that asset goes to whoever gave them the loan.
Back to the middleman.
Back to the middleman. So that's the game. And so now let's say Alice cannot return the money. Okay. She has hard time. She got hit by a car, and everybody is feeling sorry for her. She cannot return the loan. The government goes and says, Alice, I don't care. You have to give your property to the banker. So the government is always on the side of the banker, not on the side of Alice.
Right.
Not on the side of the borrower. That side always wins in a dispute as opposed to the borrower. Because we have set up government as a system to enforce these contracts. That's the purpose of government. So everything is sort of rigged against the borrower. And it's always in favor of the banker.
Could you share a little bit more about how this the money game is the root of all of the problems within the Planet A system?
Well, because the money game is built around debt and loans, there's a fundamental impetus to grow the economy. Okay? Because if you don't grow the economy, then there's competition for finite resources, the finite amount of money that's going around. And a lot of people are going to be default on their loans, and and economic activity doesn't flow anymore because people are going bankrupt. Banker doesn't know what to do with all this stuff. If say no one is able to return the loans, and they all say, okay, you own it, he doesn't know what to do with it, right? He
Right.
can't extract value out of it. He needs millions of people going out there and extracting value and returning the money to him. So
Mm.
so he then basically created this money out of thin air, and he got it back,
So bizarre.
right? So I'm
Yeah.
sure, if you trace the owners of these banks, there are, multi-trillionaires sitting there who don't tell you that they're multi-trillionaires because they got all of that went back to them.
Right. And by always having this feeling of needing to pay something back because essentially we don't own it, whether it's a car or a house or even, sometimes our children's school, then it puts a lot of fear in our daily lives and also creates a lot of exhaustion because people work harder, think more about work, don't pursue the things that they truly love or want to do.
Right. That's known as debt slavery.
Hmm.
So when you have debt and you feel obliged that you have to pay it back, you are literally enslaved by that debt.
Right.
You could say, I'm not paying. Then they'll come after you, right?
Right. Yeah.
They, they'll come after you, and eventually they'll force you to pay. They'll take away your assets, your collateral that you gave for that.
Mm. And also to create a competition between our brothers and sisters of humanity.
Absolutely, yeah. Because you have to return the loan. So you have a debt, you have to return the loan. And so you're competing with others who are also trying to extract now to return their loans,
Right.
right? And so you're competing with each other to return the loans. So it fundamentally is a competitive money game. And so for a climate healing phase of our civilization, we have to create a money game that's all about collaboration, not about
Mm.
competition. The architecture has to be the exact opposite of the currency architecture that we have in the Planet A money game.
Right. You state in chapter 29 that we must change our money game to a new game based on love, generosity, and natural abundance. The
Correct.
architecture and rules of this new game would incorporate characteristics that are the exact opposite of those used in the current money game. So, Dr. Rao, could you give us a little sneak peek into the money game of Planet B?
Think of the money game today. Understand the architecture of the money game today and do the exact opposite. I'm sorry, I'm serious. That's how I
I
did it.
believe you. Yeah. I
That's
just think of the world turned upside down. What do you say? It's just
right.
the opposite.
Right. So in the current money game, all new currency is created in the form of loans.
Hmm.
Okay, so everything that is a debt that you have to return. In the money game encoding generosity, all new currency has to come in the form of allowances. Allowances don't have to be returned.
Right.
Okay. In the current money game, the debt has to be returned to a banker or someone who loans, someone who has the authority to create currency, which is usually a bank, nothing else, right? They can create currency.
Right.
And in the new money game, the allowances are through the generosity of Mother Earth.
Hmm.
As long as Mother Earth is thriving, you get an allowance. Okay. The more she's thriving, the bigger the allowance you get. So it gives you an incentive to make Earth flourish. So we are creating a game in which the Earth has to flourish for us to get more of it, bigger allowances. So we'll work to make the Earth flourish. So that will become our motivating force, the objective function. So you have to code the Planet B money game to accomplish the Planet B objectives. So that's why it has to be an allowance. Allowance is coming from nature and not debt from a human being. Okay.
Right.
So that's the other opposite. And then in the current money game, the object of the game is to accumulate as much as you can for yourself. That's your source of security,
Right.
right? And in the new money game, for the Aquarius, I call it Aquarius money game,
Mm.
uh, for the new currency system, the object of the game is to deploy your resources in the best way possible that you think it's going to work. Why? Because money slowly decays over time.
Right.
You can't hang on to it. It
Yeah.
automatically decays over time. Okay. And so that's the software we need to build, okay, that it decays over time. We have to then figure out, okay, we have to tweak the decaying factor and things like that to make sure that that's similar to what the Fed does, adjusting
Right.
the interest rates. You know, you have to
That's what I
have
was thinking. Yeah.
a council of wise elders who
Mm.
decide the decay rate. And the
Not
goal is
politicians.
no, it has to be wise elders. I think it has to be independent of politics. Yeah. Just
Right.
like today, I think really this Fed has to be independent of the government for it to work properly. If the politicians interfere in the Fed, this entire system on planet A will collapse very quickly,
Yeah.
which they're beginning to do now, So
Would each of us have resources to deploy to our community? Like right now,
right,
the financial system is based on country and international. Would you see
right.
Aquarius being more locally based in your community?
Yeah. All money in Aquarius system, all money flows through individuals. There is
Mm.
no other money created because you are the source of work, resources. You are the one who is
Right.
saying, what am I going to do with this? Right? And how am I going to deploy it? This is why you have the responsibility for how it gets deployed. Now, I'm suggesting that when you go and join a community, that community will say, okay, if you want to join our community, you have to give us 10% or 20% of the flow that's coming to you. So that's coded in the community's rules. And then basically some of your money that comes to you goes to the community's coffers and they can deploy it
Right.
for common purposes. Okay. And then you get to deploy your money to, you say, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, whatever you want to do. You have to deploy it and use it. If you don't use it, fine. You don't have to use it. If you don't use it, it decays
Mm.
automatically, right? And so if someone wants to hold money in the new system, they become actually very good for the system. Because what are they doing? Allowance is a footprint allowance.
Right.
So it basically says you can use this much of the earth's resources for yourself, for whatever you want to do, right? Now, if you hold it, or if you get it from others and you hold it, and you let it decay, you're basically not using footprint on earth.
Right.
So the earth will flourish more
Right.
because humans'
Right.
footprint decreased, right? Human footprint decreased overall.
Right. It's just interesting, Dr. Rao, because if we were to join a local community and then part of that community agreement was to provide 10% to them, then effectively that would kind of incentivize us to want to participate in decisions and
Right,
interaction with that community. Not like the current, tax structure where we give 30% of our, income tax to the government and we don't see a direct reflection of what we're
right,
putting into it.
right. So it goes directly to your community. So the only tax you pay is to your community. Okay. So the architecture is very recursive. It's the same thing that happens in every level. Okay.
All
The
right.
community belongs to a watershed, which is local to that community. And the
Mm.
watershed belongs to an ecosystem. And then the ecosystem belongs to the planet. So there's the watershed council. There's an ecosystem council. And then there's a planetary council. Right? So the resources flow from the individual to the community, and then from the community to the watershed it belongs to. So the community only pays taxes to the watershed that it belongs to, no one else. The watershed council pays taxes to the ecosystem that they belong to. So there is responsibility and there is accountability built into that flow structure. So the current architecture, yeah, somebody gets a loan, okay, and they go start a business or something, and you go and work for them, and then you tap into that, you get a salary, and then you pay taxes, and it goes off somewhere, and they use all the money for whatever, for the common purposes. But to get accountability, you have to go vote for someone once every 2 years, vote for someone once every 4 years. Then you have to write to that person, and that person listens to those who have the most money, not to you.
Right.
So you become completely useless. I mean, there is a survey done showing that responsiveness of the government to individual needs is next to nothing, is zero. Ever since the Sunshine Law was passed in 1971, which basically said that all votes of congressmen and senators has to be made public. Okay? When you vote, you want it to be secret. It's a secret ballot.
Right.
Why is it a secret ballot? Because otherwise you get influenced. So the principle of the secret ballot is that if it is not secret, if anyone can say, hey, you voted this way, did I not tell you to vote the other way?
Right.
You get coercion, right? I mean, if someone will come and buy your vote saying, I'll give you $100 and you better vote this way. And if you don't vote this way, he'll say, give me the $100 back.
Yeah.
Right? So this is why votes have to be secret for you to be independent in voting. And that's how you should make decisions. So congressmen and senators cannot vote anymore like that. It's because of the Sunshine Law.
All right.
Because it's public domain. Everybody knows how you voted. And so the donor who gave you money is going to come and say, wait a minute, I told you to vote this way. And you didn't.
Yeah.
So they lost their independence in 1971. And you clearly see in the survey, since 1971, the responsiveness of Congress to people went down. And
Wow.
the responsiveness to big donors went up.
Yeah. It's interesting too because there's a graph that shows how many animals people consume, and actually at that 1970 mark is when you really see it start to rise. So you can see that animal agriculture definitely had an impact at that time to influence politicians.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that acceleration is part of the last hurrah of heating that we had to do on the planet. And to build all this new technology we needed so that we can take pictures like this from space, right?
Yeah.
And now we know we have to stabilize the life support systems of this beautiful planet. And so now we have everything we need to redesign systems, and create these new structures that allow us to do what we need to do. That's the reason why the architecture is like that. It makes you responsive and accountable locally. Okay, and then it builds up hierarchically. We need some hierarchy, right? You can't have everybody making decisions for the whole planet. 8
Right.
billion people voting on something and reaching a consensus is going to be impossible.
So something that I think is really fascinating in chapter 29 as well is that you state that healthy food, shelter, clothing, and the basic needs of humanity will be met for free
Right.
with the new financial system, which allows us to dedicate ourselves to the task of restoring the ecosystems of the planet.
Yeah. That's the contract you have with the community you join. The community is taking a certain percentage of your allowance. And in return, they're going to guarantee to you that you'll have adequate shelter, balanced meals at any given time. Because I found that when you split the production of meals at an individual level, you are basically you're atomizing human beings, and you're making it more and more expensive
Mm,
and then more and more wasteful. Whereas when you cook in a community, when you cook together, I mean, you can reduce the costs tremendously. You don't need that much packaging anymore for food. Because I mean, I get food every day delivered to me when I'm working here, and I cringe at how much packaging I'm getting.
right.
Yeah,
Dr. Rao, do you think that when we shifted to this local community-based financial system and Planet B system, ideally we would be growing a lot of our food locally,
right.
cooking together, closer communities? It would really reduce the amount of resources that we would need or use.
Right. Right. Absolutely. You'll be moving away from monocultures. When you do large monocultures like that, that's when you need pesticides and, because nature doesn't like monocultures. And nature will find a
Right.
way to turn that into a polyculture. So you have to keep fighting nature to do that. And that's what these chemicals do.
Hmm. And then you also talk about the labor would be based on volunteerism on Planet B.
Correct. Yeah. Because you cannot coerce anyone to do anything because you're getting allowances, right? Cannot coerce anyone. It has to be that when you're healthy, you want to deploy you want to sing your song.
Hmm.
Okay? You want to dance your dance. And so you will find the place where you can contribute.
All
Yeah.
right.
And if you don't find a place, if you're lethargic and you don't, then you're not healthy. So I'm suggesting that there will be people who will say, hey, is something wrong? Is there something I can do to help you? When you're not volunteering, you're not doing much, right?
All right.
So, and bringing everybody back to health. For some people, it'll be that's the service you do. Right?
Yeah. And I think something really interesting too is that, so I'll just pose this as a question. So things like crime, theft, violence, these things, do you think that they will exist in the Planet B system? Do you think they'll be significantly reduced?
I expect it to be significantly reduced, but nothing will go to zero, right? So we
Right.
have to figure out how to deal with those. And there are lots of social scientists who are working on that aspect of it. I remember there's a Native American tribe who would say that if someone did something wrong, everyone will come and tell him point out all his good qualities,
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah,
remind
that's
him
wonderful.
that there is something more divine about him than what he did.
All
So
right.
that's how they deal with deviant behavior.
Yeah, so it's essentially it would be, true therapy. Like if someone did something kind of counter to providing cooperation and love, then
Mhm.
we would want to go and just help them, not to put them in isolation or something like that. We'd want to
Correct.
help them to come back to the community as fast as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are pathologies that we have to deal with. I don't
All
know.
right.
So I'm just
Yeah.
saying we need to organize around love. Beyond that, we have to figure out all the details.
Something you mentioned as well is Planet B would be a gift economy.
Mhm. Right. It's not a transaction economy, what I'm saying. It's not that,
Uh,
yeah, how much can I get out of you for this? Which is what we have today, right? Whatever the market can bear. So we have created a system of transaction, and it's quite ruthless. It ruthlessly exploits, it ruthlessly minimizes costs through exploitation. So you cannot do that when it's volunteerism. You cannot exploit anyone. So then it's a matter of, I mean, the currency is used to monitor how much of the Earth's resources have we used. So the allowances are dependent upon how well the Earth is doing. Let's say, 50% of the Earth's capacity is what we can use on an annual basis, because the other 50% has to be left for wild animals to
right.
use. And so if that's 50% is what you can use, any product that you get is valued in how much of the Earth's resources you used for making that product. And then when you take ownership of that product, that footprint gets retired completely. So basically, I'm saying this currency mechanism should be used as a way to monitor our overall footprint of our consumption and make sure that it stays within bounds.
Right.
Okay. This is why it's important to have a forgetting factor. Because if you hoard and then everybody goes and does it at one time, the earth cannot support it. Right? This is
Right.
why even now I say that if everybody takes all the money that they have stored in the bank and then no one returns the loans, if you forgive all the loans and everybody goes and deploys it and splurges, the earth will literally die out because there's so much we have stored and there is no control over that. This is why, we have to create this mechanism where it is much more benign.
Another thing you mentioned is cooperative work, which we talked about a little bit with community concept, but you mentioned cooperative work would be done through crowdsourcing.
Right. Yeah. So let's say you have a great idea. You need some resources to make that happen. So you would then say, advertise for that and say, look, this is what I want to do, but I need this much resources. And if it's a good idea, people want to fund you, they'll fund you. Because everybody is getting an allowance and a constant tick. So you have
Right.
this sense of abundance because every 15 minutes, every 20 minutes, every 50 minutes, whatever, you get another coin in your account.
So just to understand this better, like if everyone was receiving funds, throughout the day, then in this crowdsourcing concept, some people may provide cooperation in the form of some of their coins, their Aquarius. Some of them may provide funds in the form of helping with labor
Right.
or ideas, blueprints. It provides such a wide array of options to help.
Correct. Yeah. That's the whole concept. And I mean, the coins represent the real footprint on Earth.
Mm. Dr. Rao, at the end of chapter 29, you state that this new monetary game ensures that the ecological footprint of humanity never exceeds the limit for ecological thrivability on planet B. Could you share a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, the reason is that the coins, the currency itself represents the biocapacity of the planet.
All
So
right.
meaning if nature is flourishing, your allowance increases. If nature is not flourishing, your allowance decreases. And so it guarantees that you don't go over the ecological capacity of the planet.
Right.
Okay. So that gives you an incentive, gives humanity an incentive to increase the capacity of the planet, which means you have to increase the thriving of the planet. So that's when you'll get more. Okay. I mean, I think that by the time we are on that upward swing and the planet is thriving, we won't need to use all the coins.
Right.
We will stay well within the bounds of the capacity of the planet.
Yeah. That's an exciting time. I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
So, Dr. Rao, as we close up episode 29, the money game transformation, is there any closing words you'd like to share with our audience today?
Now, again, think about how exciting this is. Money has always represented the old model. Imagine turning this money architecture around so that it becomes something that aids us in restoring the planet. So I think it's an exciting design and it's an exciting way of looking at things. And I'm looking forward to trying it out, implementing it and trying it out.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rao. Thank you so much to our audience for joining us today. And our next episode is how you can help. So we look forward to everyone joining us once again, hopefully for our next episode. Thank you.
This has been a podcast from Planet B, where we use less force and more choice. If you haven't moved here yet, we thank you for visiting.
Yes, Sai.
So, uh, yeah, the new money game looks definitely very promising. But how do we transition from this one to the new one? It
Mhm.
seems one of the most complex transitions, much more than the vegan transformation. Uh,
Right.
with a roadmap for it, a timeline, a deadline which we need to put for it, and how are we going to do it? Because, like, people who have accumulated a lot of wealth, if they suddenly say that no, all of that is worthless, there's going to be a lot of backlash, right? There's going to be a lot of
Mhm.
chaos and backlash, and yeah, there's so
Yeah,
many more things to be worked out, I think, in this money transformation.
right.
I guess, yeah, just
Yeah.
wondering.
You have to basically try it out in local areas.
Mhm.
So in a local area, you say, just for the local capacity, I'm giving allowances from that.
Mhm.
And then the people in that region, so you have to have minimum viable experiments. So I'm suggesting minimum viable experiments of certain communities, implementing this and trying it out.
I heard of universal basic income. Is it something similar, what you're talking about? Somewhat they have been tried out already in some areas. Is it same?
Correct. Yeah. The universal basic income again in the current model is again it's money that was created through the same um,
Hmm.
fractional reserve mechanism that someone has now taken the money as a loan and they're giving it away as income, or they've taken taxes from people and giving it away as income. Okay, so that's how the universal basic income is coming to you. Okay?
Mhm.
And the expectation is that you would use that to extract. And of course, that's not going to happen. This is why it doesn't work in the old model. You cannot have universal basic income for everybody because who's giving the who's taking the loan, right?
Hmm.
So it has to be tied to. So meaning, the game is not just part the income, but also the cost of the goods and so on. How are they determined? Right now, it's all determined based on market mechanisms. Yeah. So it needs to be determined based on actual footprint of that plant, of that product. So meaning it has to be, so there has to be transparency in the processes so that you know how to calculate the footprint, right? So it has to be based on true costs in the new model,
Mhm.
right?
So, how much time do should we allocate for this? Do you think like 10 years, 20 years for this transition to
No, no,
happen?
no, no. It can be done much faster than that. Basically, you have to try minimum viable experiments, and then you can try doing that in lots of places together. Um, and then everyone just gets ahimsa coins, and they get their current. They still have their current income, so they can even, you know, do it simultaneously. So I don't
Okay,
expect it to take that long.
okay.
We don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, I think you mentioned in one of the previous podcasts that even if we have a vegan transformation, but the money game transformation doesn't happen, it's still not uh, sustainable, is what
Right,
I understand.
right. Yeah. As long as you're in the same extractive money game, you can, and you try to do a vegan version of that extractive money game, you're going to destroy the planet.
We'll figure out some other way to extract from the planet or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm. What is the closest someone else has come up with this kind of a new economic model? Like, is there some prior work, some references,
Yeah, yeah.
who's
People
some
have been
economist or someone who's working closest to something like this?
people have been trying different kinds of currency systems. Lots of experiments. It's just putting it together, and creating as part of a system transformation,
Hmm.
right? Because it's an integral part of the way you design the whole system based on these axioms that we are using, and so on.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
But
Yeah, it would be really great to see some kind of case study in some areas.
right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Pooja?
Hello, Doctor. Very interesting podcast. My question is not on this podcast, but I was going through Professor Susan Linke's website and the paper, uh, and the GHG emissions for the vegetarian diet was slightly higher than the vegan diet.
Mhm.
But if you consider, I'm sure even in the US it's like that. It's not all the cattle or animals are reared only for meat, right? So it would be poultry and dairy as well, and especially in the case of India. So how would we attribute the GHG emissions to a vegetarian diet when it is also degrading or causing emissions and degrading land and other
Right.
environmental impacts as well?
Yeah. So I think Dr. Link is using existing methodologies for
Right.
assigning responsibility to dairy versus meat and so on. So I wrote a paper with Lisa Barca of ASU on the ethical vegetarian myth.
Right.
And I don't know if you've seen that paper. I'm happy to send it to you.
Yeah.
And that argues that you have to do a global sensitivity analysis for assigning responsibility, not local sensitivity analysis, in which case dairy becomes a very high footprint.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
You told it could be worse as well, considering
Correct.
the land.
Correct. So, I mean, maybe you should have like a branch from Dr. Linke's, say, if you do it this way, this is what you'll get.
Yeah, because we can't see it in isolation. And
Correct.
if we are doing it for a vegan diet, we assume everyone is having a vegan diet.
Correct.
And if it's vegetarian, we'll have to assume everyone is vegetarian and what impacts that would have, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Toby?
Hello, Dr. Rao. It's a very interesting subject. I first came across the idea of the money game and tried to understand it through, I think it's through Ubuntu,
Mhm.
but maybe it's a different idea of Ubuntu than, I didn't look too much into Ubuntu, but it was through a guy called Michael Tellinger. I don't know if you've heard of him, who
Right.
got really interesting ideas when I was younger. Also, I wrote it with my family and said like this, money is really the root of all evil, and and they agreed. They said, "Well, there's nothing you can do about it." So let's carry on. But and this this fractional reserve really keys into like endless economic growth and it's to fill in this black hole that we've got. And
Correct. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like it was Ray that was saying, I think last episode, he was saying how if we stop animal agriculture, all the other businesses will just keep on going. It's just we're only getting one aspect when there's so many more that we have to take down, or they're still going to keep on thriving. Is that actually true? I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. If you take down animal agriculture, you're going to create a collapse of the system. Yeah. So, but a collapse is also not a good thing,
No.
because a collapse means that old order, the old rules no longer apply, and you'll create chaos in the system. So you need to. This is why you need to create something that people can transition towards.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
I think when animal agriculture collapsed, and I think that endless economic growth idea has to collapse with it, doesn't it?
Correct. Yeah, correct. Because economic growth idea, I mean, to keep growing, um, they are the system always looks for a technological solution that would allow it to continue growing. Okay, and in if the technological solution does not appear, to overcome environmental limits, the environmental limits is facing, then the growth mechanism continues by having a military war, a war that destroys a whole bunch of things, which requires a lot of activity. So that grows because your activity is now growing when you go and destroy a whole bunch of things, and then you rebuild. Once you destroy it, you go rebuild. So that also grows the economy. And hopefully by that time you get a techno fix to overcome the environmental limits. And so that's how it's been growing. And I mean, we've had a lot of small scale wars, over the last, throughout the years, right? But it seems like the time is ripe for a big war like that.
Yeah, they like to tug on the strings, don't they? How really specifically does it connect like animal agriculture with economic growth? Is it because of the IGF-1, like protein? Like, is it just love the idea of growth, or what is it?
No, see, animal agriculture is a way you convert the photosynthesis of the planet into cash. Okay, because the animals are going to eat things that you would never eat, so it's basically turning the biodiversity of the planet into monocultures, into these animals that go and eat, and then they can be eaten by human beings, and then everybody makes money. So you're turning grass into money. How will right? There's no other way for you to turn grass into money. People are not going to buy sheaves of grass from you, right? So you need animals who would turn that into money. And animal agriculture, as you keep increasing the population, so remember, it's only supplying 12% of the food you're eating today. And you keep telling them, you all need to eat more animals. You all need to, so you pitch that. And everybody's trying to eat more animals. You keep growing the economy. And as they eat more animals, they get sicker and sicker. So that grows the economy also. Right? So you have this growth in activities, basically increasing the flow in the system. Okay?
That's what think like, sorry.
That's what economic growth model is trying to do, increase the flow of resources in the system constantly. And what I'm proposing for Aquarius is that it shouldn't be about maximizing the flow. That's not there's an objective function which has to do with restoring the planet. And that's what it should be designed around. How would you design a currency system that is in alignment with your objective of restoring the planet?
Right. This makes me think back when when money first really started, we were trading animals, and a lot of terms derive from trading animals, like stock exchange and stuff like that. So it's really rooted in it, isn't it? So
animals were cash. Animals were the unit of cash in the before we had little bits of gold and silver and things like that. Anything that was valuable. Animals were also considered to be money, cash.
Or salt.
And sold, sold, traded and sold. And even when human slavery was normal, humans were also cash. Yeah, you were also sold and bought and sold in markets. In fact, there is I think Michelle Alexander in her book, The New Jim Crow, was saying that during slavery, the owners had a perverse incentive to keep you healthy if you're a slave, right? Because otherwise your value goes down. And once slavery was abolished, and then they used debt peonage or convict slavery. Basically, people are thrown in jail for flimsy reasons. Talking loudly in front of a white woman is enough to send you to jail. And once you then those convicts were leased out for people to use. So basically, so they were leasing slaves from prison to do their labor, and then they had no incentive to really even take care of them because they were leased. So lots of people died in those, through just sheer neglect and abuse. Okay. And you'll hear the similar arguments now about land and things like that. You need to own it. If you don't own it, you won't take care of it. People are going to destroy it and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Well, they own most of the land, doesn't it? I know agriculture, so I guess land's worth the most money. So if you take all of it up, you have most of the money, I guess, just right there.
Right. That's why the biggest subsidies, and it's not even counted in many, and people count subsidies. The biggest subsidies that governments give to the animal agriculture industry is the free use of public lands. Okay, because that land is worth the most. But giving that away as for free use, they're literally subsidizing and propping up the animal agriculture industry.
Yeah. Tightly tied.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Alison?
Yes, Sailesh. There's a question in the chat, and I'd like to read it to you because it takes time for people to integrate all of this. It's a whole new way of thinking. We're so accustomed to the system the way it is. So this question from Michael reads, so with how things are in the world, some extremely intelligent and extremely skilled, others lacking intelligence and lacking skill, with this new model, will there be an upper limit to how much those who are most intelligent and skilled can earn with their efforts, and with that, their production? And if spirits are geared toward a merit-based system, to what extent do you believe that income caps could lower those individuals' innate drive to think and work as hard as they can to see and receive commensurate fruits for their laboring hard?
Yeah, it's that's actually thinking in the same in the old model of the more you work, the more you income you deserve, right? Here it's not that way. Here it's about you're given a flow and you deploy that flow. Now you can be a decision maker in a position of making decisions within the community, in which case you'll have access to the community's resources. Or you could be in the watershed council, in which case you'll have access to the watershed council's resources. And I really think that those kinds of positions should be assigned on a rotating basis and not permanently. So, and that should come from some pool of people and randomly assigned on a rotating basis. So it's not voting, and so you are there to take care of something, or even some certain decisions. I really think should be done temporarily. Pick a random selection of people and have them come and figure out how to make that decision. So that's known as citizens' assemblies. That's what I would recommend for governance.
Yeah, it is a whole different way of thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Because
So
sorry.
I was just going to say there are more questions in the chat, but I'll let Ken go next, and then I'll go back to the next question.
Okay.
But you want to finish? Did you have something else to add?
Oh, no, it's okay.
Okay, good. All right.
Ken.
Yeah, when you were a couple of rounds ago here, when you were talking about the local experiments, I wrote down the question: what will be the local attraction to try this experiment? And really, what I'm asking is, what do we need to do to create that attraction to try the experiment?
Yeah.
And a little addition to that thought is there have been literally thousands of types of local currency experiments. I assume this time the difference is common rules. We have a common set of axioms that are driving them.
Correct.
So what do you envision is needed to promote or attract local communities to not adopt them, but to experiment with them, to do a stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 level experimenting, something like that. Have you gotten to that level of thinking yet?
Well, the attraction for people to adopt this kind of model is, number one, hungerlessness, and the promise of closing down all the hospitals. Right? The healthier the population is going to get, healthier and healthier. So you have health markers you can monitor. How many people have diabetes, how many people have obesity. So the obesity rate should go down, the diabetes rate should go down, and so chronic diseases should come down. And so these are the kinds of markers. This is why it will be attractive for people to try it out. Okay? That's what, because it's about addressing all of the SDGs and the markers for those SDGs. So it's zero hunger, no poverty, good health and well-being, quality education, and all of those. We should be meeting it on a local basis, right? And
so any given community might buy in for a different reason than another community.
Correct. Yeah. Some community could be saying, okay, we are interested in goal number 2, goal number 3. Some communities may say we want to see how we can meet all goals. I mean, look, the nations of the world have agreed, they've signed saying that they were going to meet all the goals by 2030. I'm just saying, let's do this seriously.
That's going to require quite a sophisticated report and analysis function to harvest the learnings from a diverse,
so you need to create
common set of rules, but a diverse set of motivations.
Motivations and markers that you monitor. Yeah.
Interesting challenges. Wow. And we get to live in this time. Oh, wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ray?
Hey, Dr. I believe you have read Charles Eisenstein's Sacred Economics.
Yeah.
I don't think I've completely finished reading it, but I think I started on your recommendation, and I'm just wondering if there are thought leaders, obviously not necessarily amongst the vegan movement, that have the right idea and are useful allies in this venture to reimagine what our money does for us. How do we stop loving money so much? It was supposed to be a measure of our contributions to all the work that needed to get done. Now maybe we're just spinning our wheels in an obsolete system where money is still the center of what makes the world go round.
Right. I mean, money is a way to coordinate your actions with others in your community and around the world to accomplish objectives, right? So, so you get this. You get to deploy your resources in whatever way you want. So when you get that freedom to deploy it in whatever way you want, within the context of the larger project. Right? Now, in the current system, it's a pull system, meaning there are jobs available, and you choose. Okay, if you think you are clever enough to start something new, then you need to be able to convince enough people to give you capital to do that, and you have to then return that money to them. So that's the way. It's a pull base. It's the those with the money are the ones who are pulling you into doing what they want. So what I'm proposing with this is a push based system. So it flows through you, and you choose how you want to deploy it.
I see this project ahead of us where we have to try to convince people outside of the vegan sphere that our problems, our existential crisis, requires you to overcome carnism. The idea that wall that blocks you away from really and truly and honestly analyzing our agricultural system and not just forgiving it automatically. Hey, we got to eat. We don't need fossil fuels, but we got to eat.
Right.
It's not a real argument.
Right.
We have to solve our agricultural system to solve all the planetary boundaries and find a safe living space for humanity. There's no two ways about that. So as we engage people like Kate Rayworth, who is personally taken veganism as a lifestyle change, but it hasn't permeated her narrative. She's analyzing the planetary boundaries and the development that humanity still needs and trying to find a balance between those. And that has to influence her own personal evaluation of those.
Mm.
And people who are willing to look at food systems like Charles Eisenstein as they recognize what veganism can accomplish, not just as a metric, not as a way of measuring your personal footprint, as many of them do, or many of them resist doing, and maybe they'll get to that point. But it's a conditioning thing of your mind. It's something that they resist because they believe it's asceticism. It's like vegans are the monks that are doing way more than the average population will ever be able to do. The congregation can't live that kind of austerity. We have to consume in order to keep this economy going, or at least the economy of agriculture. And the future for the economy of agriculture is bright. Just don't ask the farmers, who are especially the ones that are growing either the animals or the feed crops to support them. And really, it's not even their choice. The economy of grain isn't in the hands of the farmers. They're the victims of it, more or less.
Right, yeah.
And their choice of land use is not theirs. It's the markets.
Yeah.
So there's the farmers that need to change their habits. There's the environmentalists who need to wake up. And I hope you managed to ring that bell. But there's the economists. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. Who are the economists that are on our side? Who are the ones that are on the verge of speaking up? Like Kate Rayworth can talk more about the specifics. She's created the framework.
Yeah.
But we kind of need her to be a proponent for the solutions that will best affect getting everybody out of the middle of the donut and constraining the outside of the donut. And if nobody knows what I'm talking about, read Donut Economics. What are the things we can read in the meantime between our VCOP sessions?
Read Manfred Max Neef's work.
Manfred
Max Neef. He's a Chilean economist who was educated in Berkeley.
Can you spell his name?
Yeah, I'm putting it in the chat.
Max-Neef. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he passed away, but he did a lot of good work. He
And
lived.
it's
He lived among the impoverished. So he understood their economy, how they.
I was glad you said somebody that wasn't North American or European, so that we need fresh perspectives on economies and create a new framework of understanding of systems other than American, European style capitalism. If capitalism is part of the future, it's got to be a completely different capitalism than the one we're using.
Yeah, I wrote about his work in Carbon Yoga also. So he also comes to economics from a set of axioms. He puts together a set of axioms, and then he designs around it.
What are the best takeaways of sacred economics?
Oh, the sacred part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Treating all life as sacred. Yeah, that's the most important.
Of many topics, I think economics is one of the soulless of categories that you could possibly engage with. So it's a good hint that it's a system that needs to change.
Yeah.
And be more compassionate.
Correct. So you need to bring the soul into it, Because this is all sacred activity that you're doing. All right. Brittany was here, but now she has got a coffee cup on it, I think. So, okay, we will close here then. Thank you all very much.
The house is burning, but we're still sitting in the glow. Phones charged, lights on, pretending we don't know. But the forest is silent, the river's running low, and the flame on our plates is the strongest fire we throw. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. 7 boundaries broken, the earth pushed past the line. Climate, land, species, fresh water, chemicals, nutrients, oceans in decline. Not danger, disaster in real time. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Metaphorians rise, this is your power. And here in India, one truth stands the same. Milk is not just milk, dairy feeds the flame. Cows and methane, fields and forests turn to grain. Politics, culture, carbon, all wired to the same chain. Every cup of curd is heat in the air. Every block of butter is a forest repair. It's not a small habit, it's a planetary Technology fixes half the hurt, Dr. Rao made that clear. But food fixes the other half, the half that's burning here. Change the plate, change the land, change the future's atmosphere. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Metafoodians unite, this is your choir. Every millet, every fruit, every sapsy, every bean is water on the wildfire of a world we've never seen. Every oil-free bite is a river turning clean. This is not perfection, it's direction. Not pressure, but protection. A week of choices can cool a generation. A company's courage can ignite a nation. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. Metafoodians unite, Metafoodians ignite, sharing love in the meta zone, light in